Vasudeva. Hari Om. Sem no mitrasyam varunah sem no bhavatvaryama sem na indro brahaspatihi sem no vishnurukramah namo brahmane namaste vayo Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi Tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami Ratam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu maham Avatu vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Pratyapaschatyya deshanam Samanvaya vidhayakam Shantam saumya gunopetam Krishnam vande jagatgurum Sarva vedartha tatvajnam Vedartha pratipadakam Purana sara sarvajnam Krishnam vande jagatgurum Om asmat gurubhyo namaha. Welcome to all our brothers and sisters after a gap of some weeks. Of course, you know, the months of December and January, February generally are very much occupied due to the Guru Pujas and also afterwards the classes which we had online. And after that also due to certain celebrations and all this, we had a gap of few weeks. So we will continue the study of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Before that, I personally wish to extend our effort from the Indian group in connecting with all of you through prayer to the masters to end this situation, what is going on in between the countries of Russia and Ukraine. Every day we are appealing in our prayer to the masters, great masters, to put the energy, to pour down their energy, to end this war and bring peace. Because after a great turmoil for the last 2 years, which the whole humanity has faced with the COVID, the pandemic, just now at the verge of settling back, we have another very dangerous incident of this war. So let us all together put in our prayers every morning and evening, and also more times a day. Focus our mind to the white forces, to the great masters and the devas, to protect all the human race and also other beings of this planet from this great danger of war. It should not continue, because if it is allowed to continue, it may lead into another world war, and it may be disastrous because of nuclear weapons and all these things. Humanity has already faced great destruction. So, once again, let all of us unitedly put all our efforts to invoke those higher energies to bring an immediate end to this disaster and bring peace, bestow peace upon all of us. And I know, I know confirmly that members of all our groups there, from Russia and Ukraine, from Europe, and also from the Eastern countries, everywhere, where we have been together all the time, we are already doing this work to submit ourselves to the higher forces and to pray for the protection of the whole of humanity from going into war. Now, let us continue the study of aphorisms of Patanjali. We have been continuing the study of aphorism. We have completed 33 during our last meeting, and we have entered aphorism 34. So in the previous aphorisms, we have seen that all the deeds what we do in our daily life are classified into two types: good deeds and bad deeds. And so good deeds and bad deeds. Good deeds are those which will produce very good results, and bad deeds are those which will produce bad results or evil results. But this is not enough for us to understand more clearly about what is a good deed and what is a bad deed. Unless we understand clearly, we cannot choose between these two to follow and to put in action in our daily life, because no human being can avoid to enter into any deed. One cannot avoid action in the daily life. That is confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita also. He told Arjuna that even for a split of time, you cannot be without doing something. This we can verify in our daily life, every one of us. If we can have even a few minutes without doing anything, any deed. But some of us may think that, yeah, we can spend some time without doing anything physically. But that is also not possible. That's what the Lord said. Because you have your body and your senses and your mind. So they keep doing something. You can't stop. For example, your respiration, that is also a deed, which is compulsory for every being. It is done through us by compulsorily to keep us alive. So you can't stop your breathing beyond certain little time. So your mind is also engaged. Not even for a minute it is free. It is not still. It is always engaged. And if you keep the body tight without moving, even then, all the five senses are also engaged. So you cannot imagine that you can start doing absolutely something. So, whether you accept it or not, always, every moment we are involved in doing something, but then when the question of doing something is compulsory, we should always opt for a good deed and avoid a bad deed, obviously, because bad deed always produces very bad results, which we experience out. And the experience of the result from the bad deed, we know, is not palatable, not comfortable. So everyone wants to have a good experience. Then we have to have an option. We have to select for a good deed. But then, what is a bad deed? What is a good deed? It's not. It must be very clear. So any deed, any work, which makes us to involve in it in our daily life, that is to be considered as a bad deed. Involvement, what is meant by involvement? We do the work. Even for example, we are eating, we are hungry, we are eating food. That is also a work, which is compulsory. There are some parts of work which are compulsory for us, which we can't avoid. They are called deeds which we have to do. This is another classification which Master has given, which we have with many examples studied previously. What is that? Deeds which we want to do, deeds which we have to do. Whatever you do in our daily life, we can put it into this classification. Is it the deed which we wanted to do, or is it a deed which we have to do? What we have to do are called needs, which belong to our body. Needs. Every being has certain needs for survival, for sustenance. Body needs certain things. Because we have a body, the body needs certain things which we have to attend, we can't avoid. So they are called needs. But all other things, what we do, they belong to another class, that is what we want to do. What we want to do means we do something out of the desire which arises in our mind. So they belong to the mind in the form of desires. They are not needs. So this is a simple classification given to us by the science of yoga. Then what we have to do? We have to use our power of discrimination to select, to accept, to do. Or we have to take up only the deeds which are needed, that means needs of the body, which we have to attend. And all other things which we wanted to do, because we are driven by the force of our mind in the form of desire, that we have to avoid. So that is what we have already with many examples. But here once again, what is a good deed, what is a bad deed? This classification also is clear. So good deed produces good results. What is good result? it is a harmonious experience where our mind can be tranquil, a tranquil state. And bad results are those which bring us down into involvement. So it leads to indulgence because we are directed by our senses and mind. They bring down into involvement. Then what happens? What happens is, there are many examples. If we are completely, we are surrendered to the mind and senses, and we are dragged into the involvement, then we have to face many hardships we can experience in our daily life. And unfortunately, due to these experiences caused by the bad deeds, these bad experiences, generally people think that they are being tested by the Lord of the universe, by God, which is utterly false. It is only wrong thinking, because God has nothing to do to test us. It is our own mind. Why God should test us? He has created us, and He has shown us what we have to do. He has given us everything. So there is no need to the God to test the beings. So who is that then who is testing us in our daily life? That is our own mind. The problems are created by our own mind. You see, we are seeing every day in our experience by whom all the problems are created on the international level and the human and the individual level and every level. Problems are not given by God. The devas are higher forces. They will never give problems to us. Problems are created by the human being, by his thinking and behavior, his thinking and action, wrong action. Due to that, problems are created. So everyone creates problems through his thinking and behavior, and ultimately feels that God is testing him, which is utterly useless, which is untrue. It is ignorance to think like that God is testing us. And then we have to know that the deeds which we do, the results of the deeds will bind us anyhow. We are bound by the deeds what we do. The actions, the deeds, what we do will bind us through the results. So then you can ask that, is it that the good deeds also bind us? The answer is yes, of course. When you do any action, the result of the action will bind you in any way. If you do a wrong action, if you are involved in a wrong action, a wrong deed, then that will bind you in a different way. But when you do a good deed also, it will bind you. Why? When you do a good deed also, if you do it for the result, then you are bound. That's the thing. A good deed, a good work, if you do without any attachment to the result, then you are not bound, you are liberated. Otherwise, if you do for any result, expecting some result, then you are bound, you are involved because of your involvement. You are involved and due to your expectation, then you are bound to it. For example, we are doing prayer every day in the morning and evening. So, when we do prayer, we feel we can experience some happiness. Yeah. So, in the same thing, doing prayer, if you are doing prayer expecting the result, that is what you get, happiness or tranquility, then it binds you because you are doing it for a result. If doing prayer is a good deed, beyond any doubt, but it will bind you if you do it for the result. If your attention is towards the result, then you are involved, you are bound. That means your practice of yoga, you are doing prayer, you are doing a good work. If it is by compulsion, then you are bound. There is the key. Not by compulsion. You should not do prayer or yoga, practice of yoga or any good thing. You should not do by compulsion. We have to remember this. If you try to compel yourself, push yourself to do it, so you cannot get the real experience, how it should be. For example, if you do every day practice of yoga, asanas, and prayer and all these, and if you feel mentally that by doing this, I should not get any difficulties in my life, then you are involved because you have an expectation. You are doing good work, but with an expectation, then you are bound. We have to observe with many examples in our daily life what we do, how we get involved and how we get bound. Again, we want to get out of it because it is not comfortable. If we are bound, after some time, we feel strangulated. We feel liberation. We don't like to be bound or compelled like that, even for good work. So it should not be like that. You can apply this for every aspect in your daily life. For every aspect, even those in the mundane aspects also, for example. For example, I wanted to purchase a new car. Let us apply this to that. Whether it is a good work or not, we can apply and we can verify. I wanted to purchase a new car. Okay. So purchasing a car is not bad. Whether it is good or bad, you cannot decide by that. But for what purpose you want to purchase a car? There lies whether you are bound or not. So, for example, for your business, you need a car. Okay. A businessman needs a car for his work. Okay. But when you purchase a new car, then what happens? Your mind develops a tendency to use the car not only just for the business, but also to create some work to use the car. There you are involved. So therefore, any such things, even mundane world or even spiritual practice, anything, if you wanted to do out of an expectation, out of a desire, then it gives a result that binds you. That is what we have to understand. So, for example, a person has taken a decision that he should do intense ritual, a strong ritual for a certain prescribed time for 40 days, for example. Okay, you can do that. But for what? For what means, so he wanted to achieve something. So for that achievement, he started to do that ritual. So if you do a ritual to achieve something, then you are bound. No doubt beyond further. You are bound by it. You may think that you are doing a ritual. Doing a ritual is a good thing. That is not a bad deed, but you are bound by it because of the expectation. What we expect? We expect that we please the devas to work for us, to fulfill what we expect. For that purpose, we do a ritual. Then we are lost because what we feel that we can impress the devas by doing our intense ritual. We wanted to impress the devas to fulfill what we wanted to achieve. Then we are lost. Then what we get, if that is not fulfilled, disappointment. So you have done some good work, but what you got is disappointment, and agony, hesitation. If you get agony, hesitation, disappointment, and all these things, so then even though what you have done is a good work, but it has given opposite result, because for what you have applied, that Master has given wonderful example for this, because we have to take the examples from our daily life. Somebody was a devotee of Hanuman, mighty Hanuman. So he was doing very intense ritual to please Hanuman. For what? This fellow has filed a case in the court on his neighbor, and he wanted to get success in this. So for that purpose, he wanted to oblige Hanuman to help him to get success. How can it be possible? He expects Hanuman to be his servant or a politician. Many of us, we want to please the God. We want to offer this and that and rituals and all these things. To please the God, for what? To fulfill what we want to get. That cannot be done. So therefore, we think we are doing good work, But in spite of it, we are getting this. So here we have to have a proper understanding in selecting our work, good or bad. In even a good work also, we have to do a good work without any attachment to the result of that. Then we are really liberated. If I want to get a degree, a higher degree in my academic studies, so I wanted to achieve a topmost position. I wanted to have a higher degree. Okay, you can do that. No problem. But what I have to do for that? I have to do the work properly to achieve that if you want. But if I keep doing the mantra of Hanuman, asking Hanuman to help in achieving a higher academic degree, you cannot get it. Because Hanuman has never promised you that he will make you achieve all these things. You can never oblige any masters or any gods, devas, by your doing these things. So this is all, self-deceit or falsification. This is not called yoga. We must be very clear for that. So if somebody asks you, there are many people who put such questions. What is it that I gain by practicing yoga? What is the answer? The real answer is you may not gain anything. If you want to practice it, practice, otherwise don't do it. I have been practicing for a long time. Okay, you continue practicing yoga. But I have not achieved anything. Don't expect anything. It is just like, this question is just like asking, somebody asks you, if you advise that person, you take shower once or twice a day, then immediately if he asks you, what is that I gain by taking shower? Is it a wise question? You have advised him to take a shower at least once or twice a day to clean the whole body. Then he questions you, what is it that I gain by taking shower? Then you have to tell him, if you don't take the shower, you may fall sick. That is the only thing. You won't gain anything special. If you want to clean your body, if you want to keep your body clean, what happens? You may fall sick. By cleaning your body, you are not doing something special than others. You have to keep it clean. If you want to be healthy, happy, otherwise don't do it. But you cannot put this question. If you want to do it, then do it. Otherwise, don't. If you want to clean yourself for many days, there are some people like that. I know some people. I had a friend when I was studying in the university. He was taking bath maximum 3 or 4 times in a year. It is true. He was my friend, but it is true. He used to change his dress, his clothes, only when they are torn on his body. You know, when he is not taking shower, there is no need to change his dress. Then what happens? It is a disturbance for the neighbors, for the others who are around him. He was working in an office. So it is awful. We have to clean ourselves not only for our health, but also considering our neighbors. People who are around us should feel happy because of our presence. So if you put such questions, what shall I gain by taking shower? You don't gain anything special. So similar is the question, what I gain by practicing yoga? You won't gain anything. Don't expect. If you want to live happily, if you want to have a proper way of living, so you practice yoga if you want to be like that. So your practicing yoga in no way helps any other person. We have to remember that. Some people think that what happens if I don't do this prayer or practice of yoga, what happens to the world? Nothing happens. If I do prayer, if I do yoga, or if I don't do it, it makes no difference for the whole world. We have to remember that. So when you are on the path of practicing yoga, first you must be very clear in your mind about this. You are practicing yoga or you are practicing a ritual. This is only for your experience, for yourself. In no way this has any effect on the world and other beings. Whether you do it or not, that is for you. It is too much if I think, if I won't teach the Patanjali Yoga Sutras to all these people, what will happen? Nothing will happen. Because most of them, they are already studying. I should remember that I am studying along with them to improve myself. That's the only truth. I really tell you. If I think that if I stop teaching, nothing happens to others. In no way the world will suffer if I stop teaching. So it is just for for my betterment. Everybody should know to practice yoga or to study scriptures. It is for our own betterment. Don't think that it is in any way for others. That is why anyone who wants to do it, do it. So either in Bhagavad Gita or in the book of Patanjali, you never find the useless things. It's most practical. Yoga is most practical way of living. They have nothing to do with your sentiments and all these things. Yoga gives you the way of living, how to live happily. You live happily and you make others happy in your presence. That is the ultimate thing. For that we have to practice yoga. So now, once again, let us proceed to the Aphorism 34, which we have just entered during our last study. This Aphorism 34. We have just read this aphorism. Pratyabdhana vidaranabhyam va pranasya. So what is it that we are studying during the last few aphorisms is how to keep our mind tranquil. This is the main aspect. We should not forget this. Why we are studying this? What is the step needed for our progress? This is how you can make your mind tranquil. For that, he is giving many alternatives, many auxiliaries. See, there are many, he is giving so many auxiliaries, either this or this, by this way, many ways to make our mind tranquil. That is most important. So what is he telling is in this aphorism, tranquility of the mind. Mind, what is mind? What is this question? We need sometimes to recapitulate, because we feel that we know what is our mind, but in fact we don't know completely. So what is meant by the mind? Formed consciousness. Mind is a conscious level, but formed consciousness. So tranquility of the mind can also be acquired by a special way of exhalation and inhalation of breath according to the vital pulsation. That is the meaning of this aphorism. We have two alternate processes going on in us. We have to remember this. Of course, very rarely we remember this. It is most important for us. Unfortunate thing is the human being has no time to remember which is most important for our living. That's a very funny thing. Just observe ourselves. Everybody, every one of us, including me, should observe ourselves how many minutes we remember about our inhalation and exhalation, which makes respiration. Honestly, we have to observe ourselves, and honestly we have to ask how many minutes in a day we remember about our breath. I can honestly tell you that not so much. I am trying to remember, but still I have to keep practicing. This is the most important process for our life. Because the devas are so kind to work in us, whether we remember about it or not, they are conducting this process for us. That is why we are alive. And otherwise, you can think there is no need of a war, no need of a bomb. Just we can kill ourselves by just forgetting about our breath. If the Lord of the pulsation, Vayu is the Lord of pulsation. We have studied it every day. We are studying in our invocation also. Namaste Vayu, O Lord of pulsation, O Vayu, my salutations to you. Because Tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi. You are the directly perceptible Lord for me. Pratyaksha Brahma, Pratyaksha Brahma, Pratyaksham Brahma. Directly perceptible. Because all other devas are not directly perceptible. But why you lot of pulsation? Why? Because Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Bhavishya. If I want to speak about you, I have to use you only for that purpose. Without using you, I cannot speak even any word. That is why you are directly perceptible. So that is what you study every day in the Vedic education. So the Lord of the pulsation, Vayu, is so kind for us that in spite of our knowing or not, every moment he is conducting this double pulsation of respiration. What is double pulsation? Inhalation and exhalation. Pratyardhana vidharana means inhalation and exhalation. This is a double pulsation. Continuously going on in us. But we are not aware of that. How much time we are aware of that? If the Lord of the pulsations say that, my dear friends, I have some personal work to attend. So for some moments you keep doing your inhalation and exhalation. I will come back to conduct for you once again. Just for a short time. He wanted to have a short time for himself. So he told us. What happens then? If we are asked to keep conducting inhalation, exhalation of ours by ourselves, how many of us can do that? Because we have to do it ourselves means we have to constantly remember that we have to inhale, we have to exhale. Can you do that? Then what happens? Because we have more important things than our inhalation and exhalation. That's why we forget to make inhalation and exhalation. What happens in a few moments, we are gone. Our body falls down. Who is conducting this inhalation and exhalation while we are sleeping? Think of it. During our sleep, we are absent. Who is conducting? He is not sleeping. The devas, they are never sleeping. Our apparatus is not sleeping. Our apparatus, our body, with all its systems, it is not sleeping. Mind that. Who is sleeping? This fellow who lives in the mind. The mind and the senses are sleeping. But this apparatus, this laboratory is not sleeping, continuously working. If it sleeps, then what happens? We will not wake up again. Our body is to be eliminated. So, even while we are sleeping, continuously our inhalation and exhalation is going on, our heartbeat is continuing. All these things, who are doing that for us? So those intelligences who are doing for us in spite of our recognition, they are called devas. They don't mind if you recognize them or not. If somebody will not accept, oh, this is all false, I don't accept that devas are there. Even for him to utter this word also, they have to help him, this poor fellow. Think of this. How foolish we are, human beings. So, inhalation and exhalation, pratyardhana vidharanabhyam. So, who is that? What is the process? Who is that conducting this? So, this is the process of pulsation. Because pulsation is one of the properties of the space. This is very clearly given in the higher science, cosmic science. So, Lord of pulsation, what he is doing is, he is working in the whole space. Vayu means not just air. What we call air is the result of pulsation. So, Vayu is the Lord of pulsation. So, he is there. He is existing everywhere in Akasa and space. So the whole space is constantly pulsating. What is pulsation? Contraction and expansion. So it is a double process, which is centripetal and centrifugal. Contraction is a centripetal pulsation, centripetal force from the circumference to the center. And expansion is from center to circumference, centrifugal. This is a scientific process which is going on. So it is being conducted by this Lord of pulsation, which is called Vayu. So then what is given in this aphorism by Patanjali is that what we require is to attain tranquility of mind. This we have read. Because unless we attain tranquility of mind, it will not allow you to make forward step in the towards what is required is yoga is the state of suspension of the behavior of your mind. This is the very fundamental thing which we not forget. The very beginning Patanjali said, Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhaha. Yoga is the state of suspension of the behavior of the mind. He has explained how many types of behaviors are there for the mind. 5 types of behaviors are explained by him, Patanjali. He has given it from the Vedic science, from the cosmic science. So our mind has 5 types of behaviors of human mind. So as long as our mind is constantly behaving in its own habit, with its own habit, then state of yoga is not possible. So then he has given certain steps to practice. And in this, one step which is being explained through the last few parables is to attain tranquility of mind. What is meant by tranquility of mind? Some practitioners of yoga think that to force the mind to focus on something, never you can do it. That's what the Lord said. In the Bhagavad Gita, very clearly Lord said, we have the answers for our all these questions already answered by the Lord himself. More than 5,000 years ago, he has answered all these questions, kept this ready. So, you can never bind or put your mind under control. Never you can do it. Arjuna himself asked the Lord, you told me to practice yoga. But how can I do this? Because this mind is disturbing me always. It's not allowing me. That's what Arjuna, poor fellow, is not really like that. He is also a yogi. It is for us, all this given. Arjuna is not an ordinary man. He is a great yogi. Yeah. But he has put these questions for us, because who will answer otherwise? For the answers from the Lord, he has put these questions on our behalf. That is what I feel. On our behalf, on the behalf of all the humanity, he has put the questions before the Lord, who has answered. So the Lord said, you can never do this, my dear boy. Asam sayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam. It is nature of the mind to be unstable. Yeah. If your mind is with its behavior, it is unstable. So how can we get our mind tranquil? So that is what is being explained by Patanjali. He is giving alternatives, many alternatives. How can you achieve? How can you attain tranquility of mind? Tranquility of mind means, if the mind is allowed to keep doing its own manner, you cannot be tranquil. So how can the behavior of the mind is suspended? That is what he is giving. In this aphorism, he has given another alternative. Chardhana, Udharanabhyam, Va Pranasya. Prana, what is prana? Pranasya, of the prana. Prana means the process of this pulsation. This is also should be understood properly, because these are all technical terms given in this science. Unfortunately, many wrong type of translations are given, which will lead you into awful understanding, completely away from deviated from this. Prana. There are 5 types of pulsations which are there produced by the Lord of pulsation, who is there throughout the space. First of all, we have to know that pulsation is a fundamental principle, fundamental property of space. Space pulsates. Pulsates means contraction and expansion. So the modern scientist has still to wait to understand that space can pulsate. Because in the understanding of the scientists, still space means some void, empty place, but that's not true. It's not void, very clearly given in the Vedic science. Master used to say that, where is the void? It is only in the mind of the fellow who thinks about void. In the mind. So, prana, there are 5 types of pulsations. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. So, prana is a centripetal pulsation. That means it is a force working from circumference to center in us. Prana. Because of that only we are able to make inhalation. We are able to take oxygen inside, from outside to inside our system. How can we do that? Is it by yourself, by your own will? No. Because of this pulsation of prana, we are able to make inhalation. We are able to take oxygen into our constitution from circumference to center. Here also we must understand very clearly where is the center then. Everywhere, in every person. We are many beings in this space, in this world. So every being will say I am. This I am is the center. That is why it is said center everywhere. Master Pythagoras has given a sentence: center everywhere and circumference nowhere. He has given this sentence to meditate upon. Center everywhere in this whole universe. There is center everywhere. Wherever you say I am, that forms the center. Circumference nowhere. Only when there is this center forms, I am forms the center, then all other space around it becomes automatically circumference. So that is what you have to meditate. So from circumference to center, it is centripetal. By this force, we are able to inhale oxygen. And then this oxygen, when once it entered into us, it is put to combustion inside and turns into carbon dioxide. This is taught in the colleges. But why it is happening, how it is happening, it is never taught in any university. And then what happens? Exhalation. This carbon dioxide is to be brought out from center to circumference. This is because of another force which is called apana. So prana is the centripetal force, centripetal pulsation, and apana is centrifugal pulsation. Because of the alternation of prana and apana, we are able to inhale and exhale. This is the process. That is how we are able to receive inhalation and exhalation, continue inhalation and exhalation because of the alternation of these two types of pulsations. Similarly, we are able to take food or drink. We are able to receive from outside because of prana only. If prana is not working, you cannot, even though it is the very tasty food or tasty drink, whatever you like, but it cannot get into you unless it is allowed by prana. So this centripetal pulsation should act and allow, unless it allows, it will not go inside. So inside we are receiving because of this prana only. And then whatever is put to combustion, the remaining which is turned into toxic, it is to be thrown out in the form of excretion, in the form of urine or stool or sweat, in the form of which is to be thrown out. It is by apana. Again, once again, alternation of prana and apana. So like this, because of the operation of the law of alternation, there are many laws working in this creation. So one of these laws is called law of alternation. Continuously working alternately. You see, but because of this law of alternation only, the whole creation is existing. Otherwise, it will not exist. All these things are very, very clearly explained in this science. You can find in the books. Originally, they are given in the Vedas, which are not books written by somebody, which do not belong to any religion. It is utterly ridiculous if anybody thinks that these books are religious books. Never. Nothing. They have nothing to do with any religion. They are the books written on the pages of the space, not just in these books. We have copied them, that's all. These are all copies which are made for us, but originally they are written on the pages of space. So, this we have to understand. So therefore, what is required here, what Patanjali says is to attain tranquility of mind. And tranquility of mind can also be attained. That is what he is explaining in this aphorism. There is another alternative. It is also be attained, can also be attained by bringing an equilibrium between inhalation and exhalation. See, very, very, he has given in a very simple manner, but it's very deep. How can you get tranquility of mind? Because the mind is continuously, if you leave the mind, you will never, it takes a long time for you to realize that your mind is working by itself without your control. You can never control it. Your mind, if you want your mind to get tranquil, then you bring it to your inhalation and exhalation. That is the only way. Start thinking of your inhalation and exhalation. That is, these are the steps in pranayama also which are given explained. So, by bringing equilibrium between inhalation and exhalation, you can get tranquility of the mind. That is what is given in this aphorism. Okay, but practically, how we have to do that? That we have to be very careful. We have to study very carefully. He has given in the form of aphorism. Okay, but practically, how we have to do? That means our mind can be tranquilized, not by taking tranquilizers. Yeah, once again. Because many people, their mind is very, very disturbed always. They cannot work it. Huh? Therefore, what they do, they go to a psychiatrist or a doctor. That fellow will give some tranquilizer and say, you take this. Then you'll get into sleep. Your mind is cut off. That is not a solution. If you are made to sleep forcibly by taking a pill and feel you are tranquilized, it's utterly ridiculous. That is not the way. So, tranquility of mind is attained by a special process of making your inhalation and exhalation by following the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. So this process of pulsation, this process of inhalation and exhalation is how it is working in us. It is working in every being, in every atom, in every solar system. It is working. Because, every solar system, how a solar system has worked. It comes into existence in the space through this process of the alternation of these two pulsations. So solar system also has a time of expansion and contraction. So this is a large scale and ours is in a very little scale. The principle is the same. So therefore, in an atom, in a solar system, in the whole creation, this process of pulsation is a fundamental principle we have to remember. The whole creation is kept in balance because of alternation of these two pulsations. This we have to remember. This is not, to understand this in the modern science, it takes maybe some more decades, as Master said. By the end of 21st century, maybe. But all these are given clearly in the books which are given to us, to the modern world, into English in the 19th century and early of 20th century. Unfortunately, till now, these books are not properly received to make them into textbooks in the universities. But the time comes, what Master said, by the end of 21st century, by end of this century which we are now, these texts, these books will be accepted as textbooks of science in the universities. Then humanity, the human mind, it starts to know about this problem. This knowledge, this wisdom is there always, since the very beginning of the creation. So, this is the fundamental, one of the fundamental processes which keeps the whole creation in balance, equilibrium. This is working in an atom and also in solar system. That is why it is said that an atom is a miniature solar system. What you see as atom is a miniature solar system because it has all the properties which you find in a solar system. And a solar system is an expanded form of an atom. This we have to understand more and more when we study. It is very clearly given in this science. So this process in the human being, this process is brought into the human being through the process of inhalation and exhalation, working through our respiratory system in our constitution. So in our respiratory system, we have the process of respiration, inhalation and exhalation is called respiration. And the organs which are placed in our body for this working is lungs. We know that. So what is happening in the lungs? They are working constantly, keeping expanding and contracting. So law of alternation is applied there, because the law of alternation is one of the laws of this whole creation. Law of pulsation, law of alternation. These are all the laws which are working in the whole creation. So therefore, this in the human constitution, we have a system placed by the nature, higher forces, which keeps working basing on this law in alternation of inhalation and exhalation. What is required is this alternation of inhalation and exhalation is going on without knowledge, without our knowledge. This is also a truth, it's a fact. How is it possible in a child, a newly born child, who doesn't know anything? How is it possible exactly in a very precise manner only oxygen is taken into the lungs and carbon dioxide is thrown out? How it is going on in a child? If somebody thinks, unless I know, I cannot believe, you don't believe. If you believe it or not, it makes no difference. Because how can you know that? You, after you are grown up to a certain age and you went to the college or somewhere, then you are taught to understand something about oxygen and carbon dioxide. But before that, from your very birth, it is going on. Remember that? This is a fact. When you entered into the womb of the mother after fertilization, when the embryo is forming, already starts this pulsation activity of pulsation. That is why you can find the heartbeat in an embryo, and later inhalation and exhalation. All these processes are inaugurated in the developing embryo because of the operation of all these laws. This we have to remember. In the medical college or in the anatomy theatre or in gynecology, it is not. These things are not taught because they are just mechanically they do that. But how is it? So there is this mechanism going on alternately. What is required then is our mind is connected. We have to connect our mind to that. Here, that is the process. What he is explaining is, we have to connect your mind to the process of your inhalation and exhalation. Then it starts getting into tranquil state. Otherwise, your mind cannot be brought into equilibrium in a tranquil state. This is the only scientific procedure to bring your mind into tranquility. That is why he has given this Aphorism. Because this is a process going on in the whole creation, not only in just our own constitution. So how is that that the respiratory system is working in us. Who are responsible for the working of the respiratory system in us? Put this question to yourself. And we have to meditate upon this. Are you responsible? If you think you are responsible for your respiration, then you would have not existed for such a long time. It is a scientific fact. If anybody can prove, and by himself, he is responsible for his existence, nobody can do that. How is this process going on? Because there are certain intelligences who are working constantly in every being. Otherwise, just if you put, now in the medical science they are making transplantation and all these things. If the lungs of a person are damaged, then they say, oh, don't worry, we will transplant, bring lungs of other person, transplant it. Okay, you can transplant it. Is it enough? Can you guarantee for this? Can you give a guarantee that you can bring this, you can make the transplantation and these lungs will start working? Lungs are working by the activity of these intelligences, which is not known to the modern science yet. You have to accept these facts and you have to wait for the time. We should not feel ashamed. Nothing to feel like that, You have to wait for some more time. Modern science has to wait till some more time. Yes, you have achieved certain things. That is true. You have analyzed this and what is happening in the lobes of the lungs, upper lobes, lower lobes. All these things you know very clearly in your anatomic theatre. You can show this, But who is responsible for this work? Can any one of these fellows tell? Explain. How it is working? You are not responsible for its working. It is due to a constant equilibrium maintained by the activity of the higher forces, which are called devas. Okay. Then can you show us these devas? Immediately you will put a question to scientists. You say that all these are working. Where can you show them? Okay. Very simple. These devas are higher intelligences. They are not your servants to come and stand before you. You just close your nose for a few minutes. Stop your inhalation, exhalation. Then you will know whether you are responsible or some other force is responsible for that. Very simple to test. No need to get into the laboratory or anything. You can test for yourself. If you want to confirm that you are responsible for your inhalation, exhalation, stop. Listen, do it by yourself. Then you will not be there to prove that. Afterwards, after a few minutes, you are finished. So, we have to accept that there are these intelligences, and so there is certain difference of level between the consciousness of those devas who are working and our consciousness. Here is the secret. Our consciousness is on human level. And the consciousness of the devas are higher level than human. The consciousness has different levels, different degrees of awakening. This is what is called evolution. That is another aspect. It is also wrongly explained by this modern science. This process of evolution is continuous. So therefore, these devas are on the higher level of consciousness than the human. That is why there is this difference of levels between the deva consciousness and the individual consciousness, human consciousness. This makes the division between the higher nature and lower nature in the human being. So we come to that point. We have our higher nature and lower nature. This is the division given by these scientists in our nature. You see? So now, I think the time for us exactly 1:30. So we stop here and keep contemplating upon what we have studied today. And you may immediately ask me about our next class. Yes, next Sunday is 20th. We will have our class. So let us continue this study in our next class. Vasudeva. Once again, we pray the devas to stop this war, this evil, take away this evil and save the humanity from this evil and bring peace into the world. Vasudeva.